the Vatican on Thursday accepted the resignation of Cardinal Timothy Dolan and announced that Bishop Ronald Hicks from Illinois will become the next Archbishop of New York. I want to bring in Bishop James Massa to talk about this change, this shift, a big headline we've been following. Thanks for being with us tonight, Bishop. Thanks for being with us, Bishop James Massa. We want to talk to you about this major headline, a major shift for us here in New York for Catholics. So what do you think of the change?
Well, every time a new bishop is appointed by the Holy Father, in this case Pope Leo, it is once again an assurance that God is taking care of his church, giving us a new shepherd. And we have a wonderful new shepherd in Bishop Ronald Hicks, who comes from Chicago. He has a wonderful track record, a wonderful journey as a priest and bishop. And we're really quite fortunate to have him as the successor of the well-known and beloved Cardinal Timothy Dolan.
We know Cardinal Dolan submitted what's a mandatory letter of retirement. Is that correct?
That's correct. At age 75, every bishop around the world has to submit his resignation to the Holy Father, to the Pope. So Cardinal Dolan did that a year ago.
Yeah.
And his was accepted, of course, as you know, today.
So when we see a change like this within the Catholic Church, what should Catholics in New York know? Or will they really see any notable change? If you go to your local church in your local area, whether it's on the Upper East Side or some part of Brooklyn, do you expect as a Catholic to see any kind of major shift? Or is this more just about leadership being passed on?
Yeah, the influence of a new pastor, of a new church happens slowly. The day-to-day and week-to-week life of a local Catholic parish will not change much in the coming months. But Bishop Hicks will make the rounds, and I think people will begin to see him, to experience his own personal touch. He's a very humble man, a very gentle in spirit, and he just has the heart of a pastor. And I think he conveyed that today at the press conference this morning, and he has throughout the day as he's been meeting New Yorkers and various members of the archdiocesan staff. It was a particular moment of pride for me when he greeted all the seminarians over which I have charge here at St. Joseph's Seminary in Yonkers. And the men were just so much, put at ease by his gentle presence. It was very touching.
Now, I see joy on your face. I don't know if it's the holiday season because Catholics are getting ready and Christians are getting ready to celebrate the birth of Christ, or it's because you approve of this shift. You're excited to see the change. Of course, this doesn't have anything to do with anything other than a mandatory resignation, but you look happy. You think he's a good choice.
Yeah. I think he's an excellent choice. When you read his biography, one thing stands out to me. For 5 years, he was down in Latin America, taking care of an organization called Our Little Brothers, Nuestros Pequeños Hermanos, and an organization that looks after over 3,000 children who've been orphaned or abandoned, and they're in 9 different countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. And that was his work for 5 years. He volunteered to do that.
Right.
He was a successful seminary teacher and administrator. He had worked in many different parishes, but this was something he wanted to do in order to meet the needs of those who are most vulnerable in our society. So he has a pastor's heart and a missionary heart. Mm-hmm. He wants to be a bridge between people and God. So I can't help but be joyful.
Well, to your point, charity is certainly part of the faith. And when you look at leadership, you want to see people that do by example in any organization or in any entity, so to speak, when it comes to the leadership of Catholics in New York City. We're talking about a very significant population. So it's not about, necessarily choosing who's the best person for the job. I guess that would be subjective, but nevertheless, somebody who can really step in and lead. And I guess by example is a good method to do that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I see him also as a bridge builder. New York is a city of many, many different cultures and religious backgrounds of our people. And he's going to be a bridge, I think, as Cardinal Dolan was. Present at the cathedral this afternoon when we celebrated Mass at 2 o'clock were two rabbis, Rabbi Joe Potasnik and Rabbi Noam Marins, well known around the city as leaders in the Jewish community. And they were there just to give support to Cardinal Dolan, but there was a wonderful meeting after the Mass between the new Archbishop and the rabbis. And I could just see the rapport that was immediate between our new shepherd and representatives of the Jewish community. So that's just, I think, uh, emblematic typical of what he is going to do and be for the church in our region.
It's an interesting point you make, Bishop Massa, because given New York City, its dynamic nature across the five boroughs and then beyond, across the tri-state, the multicultural, multi-religious nature of the fabric of the city, that bridge building, I can imagine, would be extremely significant. I mean, we see examples all the time of faith leaders stepping up together to address different issues, societal issues. So it's important, I guess, to see in someone the opportunity or the type of leadership that would extend that bridge building, so to speak.
No, absolutely. And we need to work on those relationships,
Right.
those interfaith relationships, not only when there's a crisis, when there's something catastrophic like a 9/11, when we saw faith leaders coming together in a wonderful way to heal the city. But we have to build on those relationships at all times. And, um, and I think that's what the Catholic leadership in New York has been doing now for a couple of generations. And it's wonderful to see that continuing in our new Archbishop.
It's a good point you make. You always see sort of that interfaith message in the tri-state and even in other parts of the United States and beyond in a time of crisis. When something, as you put it, crisis, something big happens, right? But having that sort of continued dialogue is increasingly important, especially because we're such a global society now, more than ever. There's always been a lot of eyes on New York City, but more than ever now, of course, with the internet, with social media. And so global issues often touch our communities, right? So having that bridge, so to speak, across faith leaders, it can only strengthen the narratives that are good, we hope.
Yeah, we often say in my own community, in the Catholic community, that the whole world is in New York, And one of the challenges for Archbishop Hicks is going to be not only to be an effective minister pastor to his own flock in the New York area, but also the Archbishop of New York has kind of a national stage. Many look to him for leadership, to see how he responds to different issues in the society. So he'll be he'll have to spend some of his time out of the Archdiocese of New York, and people are going to want to hear his voice on many different issues. So it's a huge responsibility that he undertakes when he's installed on February 6th.
Yeah, it's definitely a national and by extension of that, even an international stage, right? We know that Cardinal Dolan participated when the new Pope was introduced, chosen and introduced to the world, right? So these are
Right.
very significant titles. When it comes to the structure of it, if you can distill it for us a bit, for those of us who don't know exactly the ins and outs of this. So until Archbishop designate Hicks formally takes office, these are the notes I have from the newsroom. So that's what the title is, Archbishop designate. We know that Dolan will continue to oversee the archdiocese as apostolic administrator. Can you break down all that for us? What does
Sure.
that mean?
Sure. The church always needs the care of a leader, of a pastor. So in this period when Cardinal Dolan is technically no longer the Archbishop of New York,
Right.
he gets an additional appointment just to see us through the period of transition. So he's the Archbishop designate until the new Archbishop takes the crozier and sits in the chair, the cathedra. That's where we get the word cathedral. The
Right.
chair in the church, the big church of St. Patrick's Cathedral, is called the cathedra.
Uh-huh.
And when he sits in that chair and the congregation applauds,
Yeah.
that's the moment he is
Officially
the new
becomes.
he officially becomes and
Right.
takes on all the responsibilities as Archbishop of New York.
So the apostolic administrator role, that's something that would happen anytime there's a change like this. Like this is a standard procedural thing, administrative thing
It is.
within the church.
It is indeed. It
Yeah.
is indeed.
It's interesting, when we get headlines like this, we can really take it as a learning moment to learn more, even for our viewers that I identify as a Christian or a part of the Catholic community. But beyond, it's always interesting to be able to learn about different religions. That's what helps with that interfaith bridge that you speak of. When it comes to our viewers or those engaged in the news headlines, this is certainly a big story for us here in New York.
Yeah, no, it is. And the St. Patrick's Cathedral has, oh, I think it's over 2 million visitors a year. It's Cardinal Dolan would always refer to it as America's parish church. But
Wow.
it's a church that, has big doors and the doors open wide to everyone. Everyone is welcome to come and pray and meditate and see the beautiful artwork. It's God's house, and God opens wide his arms to everyone. So, and I think that spirit of hospitality, so important, I think, for the role of the Archbishop of New York, is certainly going to continue with Archbishop Hicks.
A significant role indeed. Bishop James Massa, thank you so much for being with us. It's the holiday season. I know you're busy. We do appreciate your time tonight.
Great to be with you, Stephanie.
Happy holidays to you.
You as well. God
Thank you.
bless.